Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Holocaust. 6 million of our brothers and sisters, including 1.5 million children, were tortured, starved to death, murdered, and reduced to ashes. Those ashes were used for fertilizer. They also took our bodies and made soap out of. The formula is available. You can read it in print because it went through the Nuremberg trials. They also made lampshades out of our skins, especially the tattooed skins. This was done by a woman of the name of Elsa Koch. She was nicknamed, excuse my expression, the bitch of Buchenwald. She died in one of those institutions or whatever, in jail. They also made gloves from our skins. And I saw those samples in one of the museums in the Ukraine. They took our gold teeth, gold fillings, our furniture, our homes, our bank accounts, our properties, whatever we had, they took everything. But all of that was not enough for them. The most important thing for them was, for the Nazis, to murder every Jewish man, woman, and child. That was the most important thing to them. This was the biggest catastrophe, the biggest mass murder in the history of mankind. I was born in 1926 in Jasina, Czechoslovakia, near the highest point of the Carpathian Mountains, beautiful part of the world. We had snow on top of the mountains all year round. By the way, the snow is still there, so there was a lot of skiing, skating, playing soccer, what children do. I was born in a Jewish, kosher, Orthodox, Shomer Shabbos home. I need to say a few words about home life, the unity of the family, the peace in the home, the reliability, the togetherness. The togetherness of a family like that is stronger than death, and I will talk about that a little later. When I was about 4 years old, I started to go to Cheder. Cheder is a Jewish school, one room in a private home. That was the whole school system. We had children in there anywhere from 4 on up to 18. The older ones were teaching the younger ones. We had a shortage of books, so we slide one book on the table till it comes back. We had a shortage of pencils, so we cut a pencil in 3. Maybe the shortage was not in the books or in the pencils, the money to buy it. We were poor, very poor people in the middle of nowhere. To Cheder, we had to carry a little firewood under the arm and maybe a little kerosene in the lamp, so especially in the winter time. We had long, cold winters and short summers. So we were poor people, so this is how, but we were anxious to learn, to study whatever we could. When I was about 5 years old, my father put me on his bicycle and he says, we have to go and do a mitzvah. That's to do a good deed. He took me to a place where a synagogue was being built. He put down a brick and he paid a certain amount of money. I put down a brick and he paid a certain amount of money in order to complete the building and to put it in proper use. That building was completed and it was put in proper use. I am sorry to tell you that it is not in proper use and has not been since we were taken to Auschwitz. And my father told me whenever there is something important done in the community, every one of us has to take part in it. And I followed his instructions then, and I will follow his instructions till the rest of my life. I need to tell you, he was murdered in Auschwitz. I was getting to be 6 years old. I started to go to public school in the morning, and cheder, which is the Jewish school, in the afternoon. We Jewish kids didn't like it because we were shortchanged of skiing, skating, and playing soccer. But we also understood education. And going back and forth to school, we were attacked by anti-Semites, by Nazis. Sometimes we try to fight them back. Most of the time we try to avoid them so we don't run into them. My mother was fixing lunch for me, and she makes a big pack, and I'm telling her, this is too much for me. She says, I want to talk to you. Straight in the eyes. She says, this is not for you. This is to share with those that don't have. And there were children that came to school hungry, and they went home to hungry. And she continued to give me instructions and telling me that the human feelings is more than the food. And I followed her instruction then and will follow till the rest of my life. I need to tell you, she was murdered in Auschwitz. Soon comes 1933. Hitler came to power. I was about 7 years old. Things started to happen as we go along, from bad to worse, from bad to worse. And we always prayed to Hashem, to God, that thank God it is not worse, but it was getting to be worse as we were going along, from worse to bad to bad to bad. Soon comes 1935. The Nuremberg laws were written, consisting of a number of chapters. We'll go into maybe one or two or three of them. One chapter dealt with Aryanization. What Aryanization meant there in that time, that Jewish properties, Jewish businesses, and so on were signed over to the Nazis. And this was done according to them, according to their law. This was done. That's where justice has failed. At my age, this is what happens. Now, another chapter deals with, there were signs for the Jews, Juden raus, Jews out, benches in the park and swimming pools, not for Jews, Jews not allowed. Jewish doctors, dentists, lawyers, teachers were not allowed to practice. Jewish business people were not allowed to do business. They were not, they had closed them up. We Jewish children were kicked out of school. I was kicked out of school when I was about 11 years old, no more education. And it was from bad to worse, and the way they executed those laws in a very brutal and sadistic way. Another chapter dealt Rassenschande, race disgrace. To them it was a very important thing. Race disgrace was highly punishable, where Jewish people were not allowed to have certain relationships with non-Jews, such as sexual relationships, intermarriages, and so on. It was highly punishable. Soon comes 1938, Anschluss. The Nazis marched into Austria, where they were greeted with open arms, kisses, flowers, and so on, because there were plenty of Nazis in Austria at that time. They rounded up Jewish people, take them to concentration camps for a one-way trip. They made them scrub sidewalks and toilets with hand brushes and toothbrushes on their knees. They were kicking them, spitting at them, urinating on their heads. It was a little turn point at that time. The same year, 1938, November the 9th on to the 10th, Kristallnacht. What was happening? Jewish homes, Jewish businesses were broken in. vandalized, Jewish people taken to concentration camps in the thousands. Jewish artifacts were thrown on fire, Jewish books, whatever, everything that belonged to the Jewish people, just throw it on fire. Jewish people murdered in the streets. Synagogues were burning. Historians are telling us that hundreds and hundreds of synagogues burned that same night, November the 9th on to the 10th, and the free world does nothing. After that, a short time after that, Hitler made a speech, and a lot of people showed up to his speech. Everybody cheered him. Heil Hitler, you're doing a good job, go and get him, you're terrific, you're the best in the world. Among so many people that showed up to that speech, not one of them lifted their hands to say, what are we doing here? Taking our neighbors to concentration camps, beating them in the streets, putting their synagogues on fire? Nobody said one word. They all kept on cheering him, Heil Hitler, you're doing a good job. Well, one of their reasoning, the way they were thinking, or the reason they were thinking that way, is as soon as we were taken out of our homes, they moved in, they used our homes, our furniture, our businesses, our properties. So to them it was financially very good, economically. So that's why they told Hitler to take the Jews, but don't bring them back, because you're doing a good job. So they just kept on encouraging Hitler to keep on doing what he's doing. That gave Hitler a lot of encouragement. And he started negotiate land for peace, Lebensraum in the German language, Lebensraum. He didn't have enough room to live in Germany. So he was starting out with Sudetenland. It was part of Czechoslovakia and the most western part of the old map of Czechoslovakia. So at that time we had our president of Czechoslovakia, a man by the name of Dr. Eduard Beneš. He told the free world that if Hitler will get land, it will not be peace, it will be war. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Hitler got Sudetenland. He was not satisfied. He got into going towards east, Bohemia, Moravia, part of Czechoslovakia where we lived, which the Carpathians. He gave that to the Ukrainians with the understanding and agreement that the Jewish people have to be liquidated. Liquidation means killing. Right away they put up, made up lists of Jewish men to hang. My father's name was on one of those lists. Some miracle happened. We live on miracles. Some miracle happened that this did not transpire. They themselves were massacred. We were occupied by the Hungarians, and so this did not transpire. Here comes 1939. In our religion, in the Jewish religion, a boy or a girl becomes at the age of 13, we become bar mitzvah. That means we have to assume all the responsibility of a full-grown person, of an adult, and we have to do all the good deeds that are prescribed for us to do. And there's not too many, just 613, so we have a good supply. We have a good supply. So this is, so I had a teacher teaching me by bar mitzvah. We did my bar mitzvah ahead of time. We didn't wait for the right time to come, so we did it about 2 months ahead of time or so, because we knew that we may not be able to do it when the right time comes. I had a wonderful teacher. He was a genius of a man, and whatever he taught me 80 some odd years ago, I still, not only do I remember what he taught me, I'm still practicing, and I will practice for the rest of my life.